Hello everybody, I'm Jane from Willow Blue Vintage, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make this tag with a little swallow bird inside that spins around as if he's flying. So I'm using items from the Forget-Me-Not bundle on the premium site, and I'm also going to be showing you how to make this twisted cord using 3 different threads. The materials that you're going to need are obviously the prints that you want to choose for your tag. So mine was made from some of these Forget-Me-Not printables. The back of the tag was one of these tags, and the front with this Forget-Me-Not paper was one of these labels which I enlarged to the same size as one of the tags. And the bird in the centre was from one of the postcards on the Forget-Me-Not bundle, which I then reduced so it was the right size to fit into the centre of the hole. You could use obviously whichever images you want. So the other items that you're going to need are a piece of card which will stiffen your tag. You're going to need a hole punch, various cutting tools, so scissors. For making the hole, you could use a scalpel and something round to draw around, or if you have a circle cutter like I have, you could use that. You'll need a pencil and a ruler. I put some paint around the cut edges, so I use this metallic acrylic paint, but you could use dye or ink or whatever your preferred sort of colourings are. You'll need some sort of glue. I use Mod Podge, but again, whatever your preferred glue is would be fine. I have a cloth. I applied my paint around the edges with a cloth, but you could use any sort of blending tool if you prefer. You're going to need a cutting mat and 3 types of thread. So to make this twisted cord, you need 3 different threads. I used these metallic ones, so I had a sort of metallic blue, a gold and another shade of blue. Any type of thread will work. You could use wool. This is a crochet weight or sort of thickness thread. Something like that's ideal, but as I say, you could use any thread really, and then just a bit of trial and error really, see which ones work best. You're going to need something to apply your glue, so a paintbrush or glue brush, some sellotape, and the thread that feeds through the centre of your bird, and that's all you're going to need. Okay, so I've chosen which images I'm going to use. So I'm going to use this one for the back, this one for the front, and then I've got my little swallow bird and a bit of the flowery print that's going to go on the back of him, and a piece of card roughly cut to the same size as the tag. So the next thing I'm going to do is cut all of those out. Okay, so I've got my tags cut out. I've got the front, the back and the piece of card that's going to go in the middle to give it some strength, and I've got my bird and the background piece. What I'm going to do next is just cut out the shape of the bird whilst I'm holding the back piece, so that they both get cut to the same shape, but I'm not going to stick them together yet because I'm going to need to put a thread in between those to suspend it in the hole. So I'm just going to cut them first. Okay, so my bird's cut out and the back is the same. When I finally put the thread through and he's suspended in the tag, I'll use a pencil or something just to go around those edges that are currently white, to make them blue so that it looks neater. Okay, so the next thing I need to do is cut the hole where the bird's going to sit. So I'm going to get my cutting mat and mark on one of the pieces where I want the circle to go. So this is just under 1.5 inches wide, so halfway is going to be just under, sorry, 2.5 wide, so just under 1.25 is going to be halfway along. So I'm going to draw a line. I'm really just sort of eyeballing this, and I want it to be closer to the bottom end, so I think if I do it around there, which was 3 inches down from the top. So that's roughly where I want the centre of my circle to be. I've got one of these circle cutters, but if you don't have one, you could use anything that's about the right size to draw around and then cut out with a scalpel. But I'm going to use this circle cutter. So I just want to work out how large I want it. So I need enough left on the edges that the tag's still sort of got some strength. So mine's going to be about 3/4 inch radius, so about 1.5 inches diameter. So I'm sticking the point in there and then just spinning it round. Okay. If you've got a punch, a circular punch, you could punch the hole out as well. Okay, so that's where my bird's going to sit in the middle. So I'm just going to do the other layers as well. Okay, so that's all 3 layers cut out. I'll do a bit of jiggling around just to make those line up properly, and I can trim any rough edges from the middle and around the edge. I'm just going to check all the edges are neat and tidy, because we don't want any bits sort of sticking out like you can see there. So we've got some tatty bits there. So I'm just going to trim that inside piece away a bit, just make it slightly larger so that none of it's visible through the window from the tag on the outside. Okay, so that's all looking neater. So next I'm going to glue one of the layers to the inner card. It doesn't really matter which one. So what we're going to have is one stuck to the thickening card, then we're going to put our thread through the next layer, and then the top layer is going to go on top of that to hold it all together. I'm going to stick these 2 layers together next. So I'm using some Mod Podge. You could use any glue. I'm going to put a bit on both sides because it's quite thick card, and I think it'll just help it to stick if both sides are glued. My main focus is making sure that that central bit is lined up, because I can trim the outer edges afterwards if they're not quite in line. And pressing it down. I'll probably leave that just with a book on top of it for 5–10 minutes, just to make sure that those two layers are really well and truly stuck down. Before I go any further, I'm just going to trim off this little bit of the card that's showing around the edge of the tag, because it's going to become more difficult when all the layers are stuck together and it gets thicker. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to do is get my piece of thread, and I've cut off a bit that's quite a lot longer than the tag, just so I've got something easy to work with. And I'm going to lay it down with the bird back facing upwards. I'm going to put this on a different colour so that you can see it easier. So I'll just stick it on there for now. And then I'm going to lay my thread over it, and then I'm going to stick the top of the bird on top of it so that the string is trapped between the two. So I shall get some glue. And I'm coating the whole of the front of this back piece, and then I'm laying the thread so it's going straight down across the middle of the bird, and then I'm going to put some more glue on the front part of the bird, well, the back of the front part of the bird. And then I just need to be really careful to make sure that this all lines up so that his wings are on his wings and his tail's on his tail, etc. Okay, so that's all stuck. I'm just going to make sure it doesn't get stuck to the paper. Oh, I've taken a bit of that back off, but never mind. I can use a bit of paint or pencil just to make sure there's no white patches. Okay, so my bird is now attached to his thread and twizzles round. So I'm going to leave that to dry. And as soon as that's dry, I'm then going to attach it inside the card. So I'll just leave it for a few minutes until it's really nicely dry. So the bird's dried and he's nicely attached to the cotton thread. And before I put him inside the card, I'm just going to hold the tag so that the edges are all level. And I'm going to get a bit of some acrylic paint onto a cloth. I'm just going to rub it round that inside so that the cut edges are coloured and not so obvious. So just getting a bit onto this cloth. You could use your finger. I'm just doing this so that I don't get a paper cut. So a bit of the paint on there. And then get it all nicely lined up. And just carefully, I'm just going to carefully wipe it on the inside edge, just to try and remove any of the obviously cut edge. There we go. Okay. So next I'm going to line up my bird so that he's sitting right in the centre of that circle, and I'm going to use some tape to hold the ends in place. So first one can go there, and the next one I'm just making sure that he's got room to sort of hang freely, that his tail isn't touching the side of the circle or anything. So if I just hold that up now, yeah, he's able to move around nicely there. So I'm going to trim these extra ends off. So they don't stick out the bottom of the tag. And then I can put some glue onto these two and attach them together. Okay, so now I'm going to leave that with a book on top of it again, just to make sure that the edges of the tag all really make contact and are stuck really nice and firm. And once that's done, that we can then make the hole and make the cord for the tag. The tag's dried really nicely, and I've taken it out from underneath the book, and the edges seem really quite nice and firm. And I've just used my hole punch to make a hole in the middle for the cord to go through. So the next thing we're going to do is make the twisted cord. So I've got 3 different types of thread, and they're all the sort of colours that match with my tag, so these sort of bluey colours, and I've got a nice gold one as well. 2 of mine are this kind of shiny material, and the other's just a cotton thread, but absolutely any type of thread works for this technique. So I've pulled some off each of the reels, and I'm just gathering them so that the ends are all together, and then I'm going to pull off about, I would say probably about 1.5 foot, and then I'm going to just snip the ends off. So I then tie the ends together, run my fingers down to make sure that they're all lying together nicely, and do the same at the other end. Just tie a knot so that all 3 strands are connected at both ends. And then the next thing I'm going to show you is how we attach these to a hook or onto a door handle, anything where you can just secure the end of the thread and do the twisting. So I'm going to have to move my camera now so that you can see how I do this. So with my cord knotted in both ends, I'm going to take one of the ends and put it over this hook that I've got on my office wall, and then with the other end I'm going to put my pencil through the threads so that it's held in place. So I'm gripping with my thumb and forefinger next to the pencil so the cord's holding it, and then keeping your fingers tight, you just start twisting the pencil, and as you do this the cord will twist and the twists will go up the length of the cord. So every few seconds stop twisting and just push the twists along the length of the cord. And after a while, when you loosen the tension, you'll see that it all starts to sort of gather in on itself. When it does that, get your finger back onto the end, put your pencil up near the hook and grab both ends between your fingers, and then holding that tight, just let go of the other end, and the twist will all the cord will all twist together. So just gently run your fingers down it to make it smooth, and then you can lift it off the hook, tie those loose ends together, and there you are, a twisted cord. And you can just cut those untidy ends off, and then that's ready to use in your tag. The final steps that I've taken are to use a bit of the blue acrylic paint again, and like I did on the inside edge there, I just used my cloth to put some around the edge of the tag so that the cut edges don't show. And then I'm just going to make a loop in my twisted cord, and feed it through the tag. So there we are, we have a finished tag with a little flying bird and a handmade cord. Thank you for watching.